You are listening to Arcane Carolinas, an exploration of the Carolinas' folklore, legends, myths, and modern weird. Each episode, we examine the historical context of our topic and aim to preserve some of the stories that help make this part of the world such a fascinating place.
Hey y'all, Michael here again. This episode is a collection of local spooky stories and personal experiences shared with Charlie by other attendees at Carolina Fear Fest in Raleigh, North Carolina in May of 2023. Carolina Fear Fest was so much fun, and we're both hoping to be able to return in 2024. The folks who run it are incredibly kind, the guests were amazing, and the attendees and vendors were absolutely fantastic. We hope to see you there next year. And also, Arcane Carolinas Volume 1 is out now. There's a link to it in the show notes, and it is a lot of fun. Hope you check it out.
All right. Arcane Carolinas live at Carolina Fear Fest. I'm here with Dan the Animal Man from Way Too Wild and Wild Animal Encounters. How you doing?
I'm great, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so their booth is directly across from our booth.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, we are a wildlife outreach program called Wild Animal Encounters. I'm an entertainer, educator of sorts. We use displaced exotic animals and non-releasable native animals, as well as zoo-bred animals to do an outreach program at schools, corporate events, camps.
I'm staring at one of your Burmese pythons right now. So
yeah, Julia Squeezer.
Julia Squeezer.
Yeah, she's a big hugger.
So one of the things we're doing at Carolina Fear Fest, well, first off, how can people find you on the web?
They can find us at wildanimalencounters.com or on Instagram, Way Too Wild, and that's spelled WAETOO Wild.
Perfect. So one of the things we're doing here at Carolina Fear Fest is asking people, like, what's one of the favorite stories they grew up with that's weird or out there, or, you know, local folklore. And you immediately said, oh, I got one that came to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Lay it on me.
So when I was young, I always heard this story about some murders that happened in a town not too far from where I grew up in East Central Illinois. Mm-hmm. The town I grew up was Hoopeston, Illinois, but this legend, this folklore is about Watseka, Illinois. There's an old road out in the country where the story, if I remember right, some people got murdered in this house, and the guy that went looking for them and the murderer had a red lantern.
Okay.
And he would go out into the property looking for these people, and this perpetrator of the heinous crime, and this red lantern still exists today.
Like it floats around?
Yeah. Oh, it just gave me the chills. So if you go out on this road and travel down it, the red lantern makes an appearance and actually chases the car. Okay. And there have been reports of burn marks on the side of people's cars.
Really?
But it's one of those really scary times. You go out as a teenager when you've got your license, and you go out there and, you're probably doing some things that you probably shouldn't be doing. And,
right. Adventuring.
Yes. Adventuring. And actually somebody from my hometown became a producer. His name escapes my mind. And I think that there's a movie about it in actual production right now, if it's not already done.
Very cool.
It just, when you mentioned you do the podcast and the scary stories, it popped in my head.
So I think that's a great story. Two, I think it goes to something that we say a lot on the show, is that every town in America's got something. Yes. Right?
Oh, I believe that for sure. Yeah.
So that is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'll tell you one more really funny thing about it. So a bunch of me and my buddies went over to the Fireman's Ball in Watseka one year.
Okay.
And we had probably 4 cars full of guys that, took off and went over there for the Fireman's Ball. And then we all kind of left staggered. Well, we all decided we were going to go down Red Lantern Road to see if we could see anything, right? So there's 2 or 3 cars, and we're kind of staying together, but some of our other buddies are not with us yet. And then in the distance, all of a sudden we see this red flashing light.
Oh, get out.
Right? And it's coming fast, right? And we were kind of freaked out.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden it gets to us, and it's our friend Billy Gossett with one of those red strobe cop kind of lights. Messing with us. And he zoomed by. He was in a Camaro, you know.
That's awesome.
Flies by. But yeah, it was a good time.
That's great stuff. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. I hope you guys have a great show.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're at Carolina Fear Fest. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary. I'm Charlie. Nice to meet you. So, as I just explained, this is a podcast about weird local stories.
All right.
What's your favorite weird local story?
All right. So at my grandma's house, I live in Morganton, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. At my grandma's house, there was a lady that lived down at the bottom of the road, and everybody always said she was a witch. Mm-hmm. You could see her stirring stuff in her windows and stuff. Uh-huh. Me and my cousin never believed it, so we were in the front yard climbing in a tree. And we were talking about her, and she came out on the front porch, and out of nowhere, my cousin just fell out of the tree and hurt her arm. So, of course, naturally, we both jumped down and ran in the house, and, you know. But, yeah, it's just always been a story that she was the local witch.
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that we talk about is that no matter what town you're in, there's always something around the corner.
Yeah,
like
always.
Some weird story. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep. What's your first name?
David.
David, I'm Charlie.
Nice to meet you.
So, part of Arcane Carolinas, we talk about weird stories, things we can't quite explain. Would you like to share one?
Sure. My mother was taking care of my grandmother, who has dementia, 99, so she can't live by herself. Mm-hmm. So she alternates with her and her sister. She was there one night, and they have a monitor, so when she's sleeping, they can finally eat, do other things, and she happened to look at the monitor and wonder what the light was doing on the room, because when they looked down the hall, there was no light on in the room. So when she looked at the monitor, she saw a figure standing by the bed, and immediately, she had the peace of mind to, take a photo, because it looked like our great-grandmother.
And you just showed me that photo.
I did show you.
And I will vouch for, it's not excellent radio for me to say, I've seen it. But that's what it is. It's legit. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We are firm believers that there are things that we can't explain out there. Yeah. So we love hearing these types of stories. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We're recording right now. What's your first name?
My name's Corey.
Corey?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to re-meet you. I met you a couple minutes ago. Yeah. So every town in America, doesn't matter where you are, has a weird, spooky story.
Right.
Give me the nickel version of your favorite one.
My favorite one is actually one that I found out not too long ago, probably last year. I was actually in the Navy, so I was stationed in Subbase Groton in Connecticut. Okay. And that military base is built on a swamp. This swamp was said to be inhabited by all these Celtic people. Okay. From really old people. And they left a lot of remains and stuff like that behind. And it's just said to be really, really haunted. Mm-hmm. And so I started digging deeper into it.
Literally digging into the swamp?
Literally. No, but I did some research on it, and I just heard all of these witness accounts about things that happened, about
just weird
living
stuff
on the base. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate you. All right. What's your first name?
My name is Austin Coates.
All right, Austin. Hit me with your favorite local legend spooky story.
So out of a town that I grew up in, Ahoskie, it's in Hertford County, North Carolina, there's a train station called Early Station.
Okay.
And on Early Station Road, there's a myth and a legend. People have actually seen it, or at least they've said, of a blue orb over the train tracks at Early Station Road.
Okay.
The origin of this blue orb was there was a train engineer that was on the tracks, and he had gotten his head severed by the train. Mm-hmm. And so the myth goes, this blue orb wanders the tracks looking for his head.
Freaky. Yeah. Love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Thanks for sitting down with me. What's your first name?
John.
John, hit me with your favorite local legend or spooky story.
I think I'll tell you the one that happened to me, and it was the night that my sleep paralysis demon visited me.
Okay.
I was around 13, and sun hadn't risen yet, and I kind of saw over my shoulder when I first woke up this kind of big hulking, almost like Jason Voorhees silhouette outline, and I was terrified by it. So I looked out my bedroom door, and I saw this tiny gold figure, like holding a spear, twirling in circles. And he was on the other side of the living room that I could see from my door. And every time I closed my eyes, he's only about 18 inches tall or so. Every time I blinked, he got a little bit closer, like one of those weeping angels.
Yeah, no.
And so I tried desperately to hold my eyes open, but I obviously had to blink, and he'd be a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And I wanted to scream for my mom, and I tried to, but I couldn't get any sounds out whatsoever.
Well,
And
that's
then-
horrifying.
Yes, and then finally I blinked just long enough, and he was going to be right next to my head, but then the next thing I knew, I woke up.
That is horrifying.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing.
No problem.
All right. What's your first name?
Nikki.
Nikki?
Yeah.
Can you just repeat the story you just told me? Because it was a really good one.
So we lived in an old house, and it was my mom, my aunt, me, and my brother, and my cousin, and they were both small boys. When she come down the hallway and screamed one night, we all come out to see what was wrong with her. She claimed that somebody smacked her on the back, which we didn't believe.
And there was nobody up there that
There
could
was
have done
nobody
it.
else, no.
Yeah.
My aunt lifted up the back of her shirt, and there was a man-sized handprint on her back.
And that is freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anything else happen, or was that like? I mean, that's enough for me. I don't need anything else.
Well,
to happen.
we did. We went to church one day because she was really into church, and there was a guest preacher there, and he pulled up to the front and started asking her and talking to her, and he, without even having anything said to him, was talking about rebuking the demons out of her house.
Wow. Yeah. So, yep. I think that counts as a spooky story.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Back at Carolina Fear Fest, I am here with the Spooky Twins. Tell me a little bit about the Spooky Twins.
We do pop horror art. I wood burn. I'm Tony.
I'm Tonya.
And we do, she does vinyl and I do wood burning, and my husband does journals and her husband does 3D printing.
It's a family affair.
Nice. And you just started to tell me about a Bigfoot experience, and I stopped you and said, hold on, we got to record this.
Yeah, we, my sister and her husband used to live out in BFE, and which is technically Polkville in North Carolina, and up near, where is it Nobby's from? It's Nobby territory is what it is.
Kaiser.
Kaiser. It's over near
That's
Kaiser.
how they pronounce it.
It's Kaiser. You gotta
we have
pronounce
a
it
whole
Kaiser.
episode about it where I say it every wrong way possible.
In fact, where we lived, they had just seen Nobby like 2 or 3 weeks before at that last spot. It was almost near we lived.
Man.
Yeah.
We'd had problems with their phone. It was before we had cell phones. This was a landline, and so I was going down to the gas station near their house to call my
Use
then
a
boyfriend,
payphone.
my then
That's how long
boyfriend,
ago.
now husband, and I was talking to him, and I was looking past the phone booth out at a line of trees that was dark. There was just one street lamp where I was at the phone booth, and half the tree line stood up and walked away. I am not joking. It scared the pants off of me. I was on the phone with Don, and I just said, you know what? I didn't even tell him what happened. I said, I just cut the conversation off. I said, I've got to go. I have to go. I have to go. And I was in my car because I was in my car on the phone, and I just hung the phone up and just pulled whoop and just went back to the house and didn't say a word to anybody about it.
Time to go.
It was eerie, and it did, and you could hear. I might just be embellishing it since it's been so long since it's happened, but I feel like I heard the thuds while he was walking, and it was. And what the creepy thing was is it had gotten dead quiet. There were no frogs.
And
there
that's
were
what
no
people say
crickets.
happens, right?
There were no. It was nothing. It was just got so. And I'd even remarked at how silent it was that evening, and and it was. I think it was like a full moon. I'm not sure, but there was enough moonlight to where it was not just a street lamp, but
right.
you could actually see a little bit what was going on. But it was an old house that was across the street, and they had goats and stuff, and all the animals were just dead quiet. And the half the tree line just got up.
I love it.
Walked across the road and went into another copse of trees and just disappeared.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Can people find you on the internet? I see a URL.
Yes, we are on Instagram, Spooky Twins 13, and also on Facebook.
Yes, and we're at spookytwins.com.
SpookyTwins.com.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back to another segment of Arcane Carolinas at Carolina Fear Fest. As anyone that listens to the show knows, Michael and I like comics and toys and general nerdery. And our booth just happens to be right next to Acme Comics from Greensboro.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Ben.
And I'm Austin.
And they have a spooky story. So first off, talk a little bit about the shop, but then I want to hear your spooky story.
For sure. Yeah. So we are co-owners of Acme Comics in Greensboro, North Carolina. This year we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming in the pipeline. And with a store that is 40 years old, comes a lot of stories. And one of which is a good ghost story that we've had ongoing for a while at the shop.
Yeah, the location that we're in, the store's been there for about 25 years. And it's the oldest shopping strip in Greensboro.
Okay.
Next to us is the oldest bar in Greensboro.
Okay.
And just as the buildings are so old, there's definitely some sort of entity that is very strong in the store.
Yes. It's been, it's not like a malicious kind of entity at all. It just likes to make its presence known.
Okay, just like a hey, I'm here kind of deal.
Just very much like a hey, I'm here. Like it started out with knocks on the bathroom door when somebody was in there, and not just like, oh, the door is settling, it's an old building kind of thing. Like it would be hard hits on the door.
So the ghost has to go.
It's got to go. It's got to go. But you
just yell back. This is for customers only.
Yes. Sarah and I think have experienced that more than you have.
Yeah, I've never felt the knocks on the bathroom door, but there's many times where, especially how we used to have our store laid out, you would have your back to a certain wall, and if you're there late working on something, for a couple of reasons, I spent the night at the store. And you can feel it almost like it's like arms coming from behind you.
Ugh.
And it feels like, and if you're there late enough, we've always said the store tells you when it's time to go home.
Yes. Okay.
Because it will kind of pull you and you can feel it. And I think one of the strangest things is there's a lot of things that are beyond coincidence that happen at the store, and we can only attribute it to the spirit.
Little synchronicities.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll either be discussing someone. We see a lot of our customers are weekly customers, bi-weekly customers.
Got a pull box, come in, get your stuff. Yep.
And we'll just be talking about someone, and then it's like they come right in the door. People who we haven't seen in 10, 15 years.
Weird.
Will get discussed and then show up.
And it happens more often than it should. Like Ben was saying, like literally people we haven't seen for 5 years. And it's like, oh, hey, you remember that time with this person? And within a week, they're back in the store.
That is so weird.
It's really bizarre.
So we try to be really careful about what we say.
Who we bring up.
And who we bring up, because we will conjure them. There's some characters that exist. And I've done it many times where I'm just like, where's that guy who used to just like, now he's going to show up at the store because I've discussed it, who would just like walk from wherever and he would just play trumpet for 4 hours outside of the store. He doesn't know how to play trumpet, but that happened once. I was like, whatever happened to trumpet guy? And then like the next Saturday, he's out front.
That weekend, he's out there just going for it.
That is hilarious. So the store is alive.
Yes.
The store knows things. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's like Ben said, it's kind of like it's a gentle nod.
Yeah.
Sometimes where it's just like, all right, you guys have been here working. It's late. Like, I'm going to tell you it's time to go. And it's just weird. It's like kind of, you get the stuff out of the corner of your eyes a lot of the times, and you're like, oh, there's a customer in the other room that I need to go help. Nobody's there.
That's amazing. I love it. You should consider having somebody come and check it out.
So we've, I've been saying for years, I want to lock us into the store and we do a full overnight
ghost party,
hunt. And then the weirdest thing, talked about that on our store podcast, the Acme Cast. We're available everywhere if any listeners want to check it out. It's a weekly podcast, but I was talking about this is the year that we do it.
Yeah.
And independently, a customer who has never expressed that he used to work for a paranormal investigation company was like, hey, I'll come in, we'll help it. At the same time he's talking to me, another person is across the store, not hearing that conversation, saying, oh, my sister is a paranormal investigator, I can bring her in. And it was and I was like, that's it.
Like we got to do it now.
We got to do it.
This is the year that we're going to do it.
That's amazing.
Our fear is we will unlock something.
Yeah, that it's just been dormant and kind of like, hanging out, but it's been waiting for us to kind of break the seal. And so there is that risk.
That would be the horror movie outcome.
Yes.
Sarah has told me no Ouija boards, no anything like that. But I want to see it. I want it to manifest itself.
What if it's just Casper? Like, what if it just like manifests like an old Archie comic drawing?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, yeah, it'd be fine. I just want to know that we were right, basically, and that there is something there. It'll be cool
for all your pop culture comic shop supernatural needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your website?
acmecomics.com. And we are located in Greensboro, North Carolina, 2150 Lawndale Drive. We are open 7 days a week. So if you guys are ever in the Greensboro area, please come check us out.
We're on Instagram, Facebook. You see something online that you like, we ship worldwide. We have customers all over the place.
Nice. And I will vouch that they are very nice people. I've been standing next to them for 3 days now.
Well, thank you, man.
We appreciate it.
You've been listening to Arcane Carolinas. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. For more episodes, behind-the-scenes information, and links to our social media, check out www.arcanecarolinas.com, where you can also buy the Arcane Carolinas book.
And if you like award-winning horror and science fiction, check out my books at michaelgwilliamsbooks.com or visit my publisher, Falstaff Books, at falstaffbooks.com. And if you have story suggestions, comments, or questions, email us at arcanecarolinas@gmail.com. And thanks for listening.